Hello YouTube, it's me again. Well, the first vlog didn't get as many views as I thought it'd get at once. And I honestly didn't think it'd get that much to start with, but thought I'd just try it again. When being with so many people babbling on about nonsense on YouTube, thought I'd try to make sense of the nonsense. Anyhow, the thing I'd like to discuss today would be childhood. I mean, we all remember our childhood, for the most part at least. People wonder what's wrong with today's youth, why there's so many kids that disobey their parents, go do drugs, have sex before marriage, defy their elders. I never was one of those kids. I wasn't like, oh no, that's bad, mommy and daddy will be mad at me. I decided on my own, because I didn't want to be like those kids. I decided to be a good kid, I guess. Never smoked, never drank, never done any kind of drugs. I dipped one time, but that's it only took one time before I was sick of it. I was like, bleh, okay, that's quite enough of that. No, my only addiction is candy, particularly nerds. That's good stuff. Anyways, I brought an illustration, if you understand where I'm coming from. This is my sword. Behold its sharp, shiny glory. Anyways, when children are young, they're like this sword. Not the fact that they're skinny and sometimes irritating when you poke them or poke people with them, but in the sense is how they're made. The swords, I mean, you don't make children. When this was forged, now this is a very cheap sword made in Taiwan or somewhere, doesn't really say. But when the sword was forged, what they did, they have a cast. It's in a rough shape, like this blade. What they did was they poured molten steel into the cast. When it cooled off, they burnished it, polished it, treated it with stuff. I don't know exactly what. They galvanized it so it wouldn't rust, wouldn't break easily. Still got nerds in my teeth. That's better. But when the sword was still hot, was the easiest span of time for the makers to shape it. When it's hot, you can bend it into all kinds of shapes. You see, it's not just a straight blade. It kind of tapers in and out like a very slight curve like that, you see? And it's not full tang. The blade goes down to about right here, and then it's just a handle attached. You can see where I tried to swing it around and bent the handle, and I haven't been able to bend it back without worrying about breaking it. Children are like swords in the sense that there's a short span of time when you can easily influence them. When the metal is still hot. Just like when the sword is still hot. When the children are at a certain age, between the ages of, say, 2 and 8, somewhere in there, give or take a few, depending on the child and the parents, is when you'll be able to have the most power over them. Not power in the sense of controlling them, but to teach them, How you treat your children when they're at their youngest is how will decide the way they are when they get older. I mean, they can change on their own, depending on what they see and what they believe. But the biggest influence, the thing that will shape the adult they become when they hit about 18 or 19, is how you treat them when they're that young. It's the same with the sword. How it's treated when it's still hot will shape it. Now, if I really wanted to, I could take this outside and smack it up against the side of the house, or act like a crazy lunatic and jump on somebody's car and pretend to try and stab them. If I don't go to prison or an insane asylum, my sword will be bent, possibly broken, and it certainly will not be sharp anymore. But this can be fixed. It can be changed. You gotta get it hot again. Gotta get it hot, beat it until it's straight, reforge it, and then grind the edges down to make it sharp again. People... Whoa, there's crap all over my pants that came off of my sword. That's weird. Anyways, what was I saying? Well, people don't like when they go through rough times, you know? When money's tight, when the bill collectors are coming to collect bills, when their kids get into drugs, when their kids do things they don't exactly agree with. They consider these tough times, you know? Well, I liken these tough times to fire. Just like when the sword is damaged, fire can make it back into what it was, perhaps something better, if you've got a skilled swordsmith. Of course, we don't really have swordsmiths now. We just have underpaid Taiwanese factory workers who are paid to make swords to sell to geeks like me who like to hang them up on their walls and swing them around at the camera while making a video log. But when a family goes through the fire of trials and troubles, things going wrong, you know, bad financial situations, drugs, crashing your car, any kind of stressful situation like that, then one of two things will happen. It'll destroy them. It happens a little too often for my taste. I see people who, rather than take the high road and learn from these experiences, they choose to be angry. Sorry about that. My camera died. I had to go find some new batteries real quick. While I was waiting for the old video to load back up on my computer so I could do the editing and whatnot, I went and had me a sandwich. That's how long it took. Anyhow, like I was saying, when people go through rough times, they like to be angry. Angry at God, angry at one another, angry at themselves, primarily angry at other people more than themselves. But God is like a swordsmith. When you bend, you break, or you lose your edge, God puts you through the fire, gets you hot again, so you're soft, you're vulnerable, you're easy to move, you're malleable, like you were when you were a child, and He reshapes you into something useful. Now, I bet you were wondering when you started watching this how in the crap I was going to relate the sword to childhood, but there you go. That's how. Just like that. Anyways, children, when they're at that age, between 3 and 8, give or take a few, like I said, depending on the parents of the children, they're in a very malleable state. Everything that you say matters. Everything that you say will have an impact on their lives later. Like you have a child who you beat him and smack him around, lock him in the closet when he doesn't do right, when you're mad at him, he's going to grow up to be a jerk, if not a murderer or a child molester. That's the way it goes. People that we put in our prisons had rough childhoods. People with good childhoods end up just spoiled and rich and think they're better than everyone. So you got to find a happy balance. You got to give them enough so that they learn, enough so that they grow up strong, independent human beings, but don't give them so much that they think the world's going to do them favors when they grow up. Because it's not. Let me just tell you. Now, you may be wondering, how do I know so much about childhood, considering I've never had any children? Being only 18, I can't have raised any 18-year-olds. It's biologically impossible. But the thing that makes me different, the thing that gives me the edge, aside from the sword that I'm so fond of waving about, is the fact that I remember my childhood. I remember what it was like. I remember that I needed my parents, and I remembered everything that they said to me, everything they taught me. I remember when my dad tried to teach me about the states of matter when I was 3. We was driving in the car. He took me to work with him one day so I could see what my daddy did. And he took a glass of water. We were on the way home, and he shook it around and says, "You know what this is?" I said, "It's water." He said, "This is called liquid. When it's like water, it's liquid." Then he blew in my face, said, "What's that?" I said, "That's your breath." He goes, "This is a gas. It's like a liquid, but it's not." Then